My entitled narcissistic mother has been actively making up rumors about my girlfriend, claiming that she's controlling me and that she's manipulating me, causing all this unnecessary drama and creating all these false rumors about me and my girlfriend. But after dealing with this for years, I decide that enough is enough, and I put my foot down and I tell her to stop for good. And when I did that, she went absolutely ballistic and has actively sought to try and ruin my life ever since. Here's what happened. So to start off, just to let you know a little bit about my mother, she always told me and my brother that love is not unconditional, that it must be earned. When we were kids, she barely let us hug or kiss her, saying that disgusted her and that is a false and hypocritical way to show love, and that the correct way to show that we loved her was to respect her and to obey her. She would smash the door and windows of our rooms on Saturday and Sunday at 7 in the morning, and she would do this because she was upset at us, because she expected us to already be awake and cleaning the house. And school and grades, she always told us that excellence is the bare minimum you owe me. So if we scored a top score, she would basically be like, oh, you want a reward? That's your obligation. You don't deserve a reward for giving the bare minimum. Anything below that would result in some kind of taunt or being called mediocre, or worst of all, getting punished. She would always tell us, saying, stop acting like a child. You are almost an adult and must behave like one, instead of running around and playing and embarrassing me. And the funny part about this is that she started to say this to us since I was about 7 years old. I was nowhere near an adult. And my favorite, whenever me and my brother were upset with her, or her rules or her punishments, because I'm sure you can guess how my mom is, she loved to punish both of us at the same time. Even if one of us didn't do anything and was totally innocent, she simply didn't care. Regardless of what it was, she would gladly say to us, you don't like it? Well, the door is way big and wide open. You can go. Go away and live in the streets. But you can't take anything, not even your clothes, because all is mine. Your clothes, your toys, your bed. I bought everything. You have nothing. You are free to go, but in the exact same way you came into this world, with nothing. Now, I could go on and on for hours about her, but I'm sure now you can get the idea of what I've been dealing with. So, a lot of years after my childhood, I was finishing up college. I moved from my hometown to study and have better opportunities. My mother already had plans for me. She wanted me to move back at home, find a job that helped her friends, and start a business at her house. Me, on the other side, didn't want to do that. I wanted to stay here. I wanted to find a job and be with my girlfriend. I was happy here, and I had a very good chance to build my own life here. But my mom didn't like that at all. And for weeks, she would say multiple times how I was wasting years and opportunities for not doing what she said. One year, after I decided to stay, she convinced my dad to buy another house. And when they got it, she started to say to me and everyone who would listen to her that she bought it specifically for me, so I could live there and work from there. Since then, she keeps repeating to me and everyone else how I rejected her again and I was wasting a good opportunity. After she realized I was doing good here, she changed her way and started to say that my girlfriend was manipulating me, because if I was working, then I should be able to visit them at least 15 days out of the month. Whenever I told her that that was not possible, she would start a tantrum about how my girlfriend is controlling and isolating me. And when I tried to say that wasn't true, she would start demanding that I prove it by telling her how much I earned. She wanted to know exactly how much money I earned, and on multiple times even suggested to give it to her, that she would save it and manage it for me. Whenever I told her no, she would always say to me, I'm not asking because I'm asking for money. I just know best and I want to help. I'm doing you a favor. Don't you trust me? Every time I said no, she would start playing the victim and blame me and my girlfriend for wasting all the opportunities that she gave me. Now, I endured this for years, and with time, I started to get into low contact with her, meaning that I would only contact her if it was necessary, since I didn't want to start another thing of drama, because I really just don't like her. Meanwhile, she began to include my girlfriend's mom into this BS, saying that she exploits me and takes all my money, all while claiming that my girlfriend is manipulating me and has me locked down. This would keep going until we hit a breaking point. At the beginning of last December, I was after a new job, a very good opportunity that unfortunately I didn't get. That put me and my girlfriend in a rough spot, and again, my mother ordered me to come back home with the promise that everything would be solved the moment I got back, and that I could find a job faster and easier there, and that I could even live in her house. Now, I have to be honest, I did feel tempted to accept her offer. I even talked to my girlfriend girlfriend about it, but at the end of the day, I decided to stay. Moving back to my hometown would not solve anything, and that would only carry more troubles. Fortunately, I was able to find a good job a couple weeks afterwards. It's not exactly like the one I was looking for before, but it was good and with a chance of growing. My mother didn't take it well at all. She was mad at me when I called her to tell her the good news. She wasn't happy at all and started to scold me, saying how I always waste the opportunities and chances that she gave me, and how I disappoint her, that my new job would exploit me, and that it would put a test on my character, and that I would fail. And her reasoning was that because I am weak, and everyone there would step over me, which, you know, is beautiful words for a mom to say to their son, isn't it? I started working at the second half of December, and it was good. Then my mother called, demanding to me that I come home for Christmas, and getting mad when I told her I couldn't, because I had work. She started a tantrum about how I don't love her because I don't go to visit them since a long time, and all because I'm selfish, a doormat, and my girlfriend and her family manipulates me. They're controlling me, and they don't let me visit them. And all of that is just stupid and false accusations that multiple times I have told her to stop saying. And when I told her that I didn't want to go to her house because it was 14 hours on the bus, and this was during COVID because of my asthma, and I didn't want to take the risk, she started telling me that I was being ridiculous. I was an idiot and I was exaggerating. She said that COVID wasn't that important and that the president never even used a mask and always said COVID was under control and all this other stuff. A few days later, she and my dad traveled here for New Year's Eve. As soon as they arrived, they demanded me to visit them on my uncle's house. But she also didn't want me to visit for just 5 minutes like I always do, and instead wanted me to stay here all day from breakfast to dinner. Well, I gently tried to explain to her that that wasn't possible. I had work, but she didn't like it. The most I could do was skip my lunchtime to visit them. But things went worse on December 31st. My uncle, as well as the rest of them, organized a religious ceremony that morning, and my mother ordered me to go. When I told her it wasn't possible because of my job, she got mad, and after that she demanded me to come to dinner, spend all the night there, and stay until the morning. I had had enough, and I just said straight up no. I couldn't do that, and I didn't want to do that. I went to work that day, and I came back to my place, and I stayed with my girlfriend, and I had an amazing night with her and her family. The next day, I stayed at home. We slept in, and I woke up at around noon. I then went to my uncle's house to visit my parents, and that's when everything went down. My mom started with the usual speech about me being a horrible person, as well as a disappointment, and that I don't love them. Then she started with how she kept giving chances to do things the right way, but I just don't obey her. That she could not understand why I don't choose to do exactly what she says. Then she started attacking my girlfriend and her family, saying this is all their fault, that they exploit me, they take my money, they have me trapped and controlled, and it's because of her manipulation that I didn't want to go back to her, and that because of her, I didn't want to live in the house that she bought and find a job near them. Eventually, I had had enough and I just stopped her. I was so upset at that point, and I told her for the last time she was wrong, and she can't say those things about her. She then said, "Well now, the truth hurts, doesn't it? If you're uncomfortable with what I'm saying." And before she could continue, I told her to stop, but she kept on going, saying that not showing up on the day she ordered was a sign of disrespect from me, and that because I didn't go along, this was somehow a sign that my girlfriend didn't respect her. I told her to stop again, and that I had had enough, and I won't allow her to keep saying all this garbage about her. She told me, "You are not gonna forbid me from saying anything. I'm gonna say everything I want because I'm right. I am always right, and I'm always gonna say things as the way they are." After that, I simply had had enough, and I left her with her tantrum. My dad only said that he was disappointed and disgusted at me, that I showed him how I don't feel love or respect to them, and that I just don't want to obey, so he won't care about me anymore. I avoided them for the rest of their time that they stayed until they went back to their home. Things were tense, but I believed everything was over. But no, while I was working, my uncle came to my girlfriend's house. He went with the intention of confronting them and throwing them the truth into their faces. He accused my girlfriend and my mother about everything my mother told him, that they controlled me, they manipulated me, they exploit me, and they're robbing me, and that I was trapped and they were the reason I didn't take all the opportunities that my mother gave me. And when I found out, I was beyond furious. My girlfriend and her family have never done anything to my mother, and in the contrary, they always had cared about my parents, asking when they would come to visit, giving them presents, and they never had a bad word to say about them, always asking about how they are. And now, after all this, my mother had been spreading her BS to all the family, bringing her lies and drama to their home. Finally, I had had enough. I called her, and now it was my turn. I let go every single thing I had to say. I was putting an end to all of this garbage. Multiple times she tried to shut me up, telling me things like, "I'm your mother. You can't talk to me that way. Remember who you're talking to. You have no right to talk to me that way." Even yelling at the phone just to get me to stop talking, but I didn't let her have it. She then said to me, "And what? What do you want now? You want me to apologize?" And I said to her, "Yes, I want you to apologize, just to begin with." She then started laughing at the phone, but not laughing like I said something funny. It was a fake laugh with the only intention to upset me. She wanted to mock me, like she was saying to me I was an idiot for even asking that. The kind of laugh that someone would use to humiliate. She said that it was all my girlfriend's fault once again, and that because of her and her manipulation, I didn't want to move back as she ordered, and I didn't want to live where she ordered me, while also refusing to work where she demanded that I work, and in essence, basically disobeying her. She said that she's now gonna wait for me, my girlfriend, and her family to apologize to her and ask for my mom's forgiveness. I told her she was no victim, and she was being ridiculous. I told her that I was done. I'm tired of her. She insulted me, my girlfriend, and her family for the last time. I want her to take back everything she said, and I want her to apologize. She said that she would never do that, and that I'm an idiot for believing that she would ever think about that. So I told her I won't talk to them ever again until she stops her garbage and apologizes. And with that, I ended my call. After that, my dad sent me a text message saying how disappointed he was, and that he was done with me as well, and that I showed them that I don't love them, and that I'm not loyal to my family, so he was done. It's been about almost 3 months since I cut contact with them, and all the fights, all the drama, they're all gone. The tantrums, the scoldings, the drama, it's all over, and I have been doing great with my job and my girlfriend. Everything is finally going well. My brother had called me a couple of times, and he understands me, but he keeps saying things like, "It's not that big of a deal. I know how our mom is. She says stuff like this all the time. It's normal." He then asked me to fix things with her and to come here for a week at least and do what she says so everything can be normal again. But I told him that I'm absolutely not gonna do that. I know for a fact that our mom is still angry as a hornet, and because my brother is near her, she now focuses all the drama and the scoldings and the fights onto him, and he desperately wants to take her off of him. So that's it. For years, she has been saying all this garbage about me and my girlfriend, and now after spreading her lies to the family, she expects us to apologize to her. Well, with all things considered, I can confidently tell you that that is never going to happen. Your mom is literally a narcissist. Like, this is a textbook example of some controlling, OCD-ridden narcissist who literally just wants to control everybody else around her. Like, that is literally what's going on. So good for you for getting out from underneath her, because she seriously sounds crazy, and you can bet if you went back and did everything that she said, it would still not be enough. You would have been miserable, and I guarantee you she would have actively ruined your life. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, linked down below in the description. My entitled neighbor is incredibly rich and incredibly spoiled, and while he was a reasonable neighbor at the start of me moving there, he quickly became an absolute jerk, and I really cannot stand living next to him. Here's what happened. Okay, so this happened during the pandemic, but there are a few things I need to note first. My next door neighbor is the wealthiest person in the neighborhood as far as we know. Before the pandemic, he was a reasonable guy, and I never had any problem with him, save one party that got a little bit out of control. But this story took place way before that party ever did. So this neighbor, who we will call Jack, that's not his real name, lives in the house next door to mine with his long-term girlfriend. We'll call her Stacy, also not her real name. And let me tell you something, she is a gem of a person. Since before my father-in-law gave his house to my wife, he would hold crazy parties at his house. These parties would happen every single weekend. He invited us to one when we moved in, and we went just to be polite, but it wasn't our thing, so we politely declined. He was still a reasonable guy and would say, "Come on over, we'll have a blast." But the wife and I always use the kids as an excuse and politely decline. He converted the first floor of his house into a dance club, complete with an indoor swimming pool. One party will always stick out to me as the day we saw a tow truck remove a car from a brick wall. The driver was okay, but the party itself was massive. It looked like he invited the entire town. The next day, he asked me if I would help him move a couch. I guess a couch was thrown into the pool, so I ended up just helping him out, and we had a good laugh about it. As I said, even with some of the wildest parties, parties, he's not really a bad guy. He at one point helped me clear out some trees that fell in the woods behind our houses. And honestly, it was the pandemic that caused him to go off the deep end. My town was spared the worst of the pandemic. The school shut down before the orders from the state, and many businesses did the same. Jack, however, did not stop partying. His parties were shut down several times until one day it looked like the entire police force showed up, and they arrested everyone. They were all let go, but the parties were over, and the good fun-loving guy was gone. He organized a protest with his friends and got a bunch of others who hated masks and went to the town hall. But when they found out that it was closed, they tried the county office. For some unknown reason, they went after a supermarket and harassed the workers. And I'm pretty sure it was on Facebook and YouTube. Why these people chose to harass grocery store employees is beyond me. But in the end, they all got arrested again. Now, we were still on speaking terms at this point, but that would change overnight when a buddy of his decided to race their overpriced cars through town. And as a result, we got into a heated argument about it. And he took offense when I pointed out that the only reason he isn't in jail is because he's rich. It's not my proudest moment, but you know what? He had it coming. More recent events include calling the police on anyone that is having work done on their house, as well as calling the police when anyone parks on the street. This guy would even send lawyers to town hall just to disrupt meetings. And most recently, he parked 10 junk cars on the streets with flat tires, wrapping a chain around a piece of construction equipment and putting a very vulgar sign on it. Oh, and his girlfriend usually comes over to apologize for his actions. I am surprised that she hasn't broken up with him, to be completely honest. She is the one to apologize for his actions and will offer to pay for any damages that we might experience. They are still together from what I know, but I haven't seen her in a few weeks. Honestly, overall, my neighbor is the absolute epitome of entitled rich jerks that you will ever see in your life. Yeah, that guy sounds like he is seriously one big privileged ball of fun. I mean, who just parks 10 junk cars on the street and just leaves it there for the heck of it? And the worst part about it is I'm pretty sure this guy could have been a reasonable neighbor. Like, he could have been someone that the original poster could go to and try and have some kind of friendship with, but this rich guy just completely ignored all of that and decided to act crazy the second the pandemic started. So hopefully if you still live next to them, they're at least a little bit more reasonable now that the pandemic is over. And hopefully all of this money doesn't get pointed at you one day, because it sounds like this guy is fully capable of ruining people's lives, and I definitely would not want to be on the receiving end of it. My entitled boss strung me along for 2 years, claiming that she was going to give me a promotion and a salary increase if I continue to work hard and meet all the requirements that she made. But after moving the goalposts so many times and refusing to move forward with giving me a raise and a higher title, I eventually stopped doing all the extra work and only did what's on my job description. And as a result, my manager got in a lot of trouble and eventually got fired. Here's what happened. So at my last company, I was working as a marketing executive. The team included myself and a senior marketing executive. As time went on, I began to take on more responsibilities to the point where I was doing more than the senior in my team, which they even admitted. I spoke to my manager about what I need to do to get a senior position. She gave me goals and a timeline, and I hit those targets. And then she would just move the goalpost, and she did this 2 more times. All the while, I was using my skills to reduce costs and improve the projects I was working on. Specifically, I had started to design everything myself instead of using the expensive design agency, thus saving the company about $45,000 a year. I finally set another meeting with my manager to discuss a promotion. I showed her how I was increasing the profit margins of all my projects, as well as all the extra work I had been doing. But her response was to say, just because you make nice things and do extra work doesn't entitle you to a promotion. Now, when she said that, I just sat there shocked. And then she said, but don't worry, you'll get there eventually, and then ended the meeting. She had led me on about a promotion for almost 2 years. So this is where my malicious compliance starts. I stopped doing anything outside my job description, which included all of the design work. Everything went to the agency, and the whole team relied on my design work. But when I told them why I was stopping, they understood entirely what I was going through, and they all swiftly became quite happy to start using the expensive agency. It wasn't until our next quarterly meeting that my manager noticed our profits per project had harshly dropped. When she questioned why we were spending so much money, I said to her, well, as design is outside of my job description, we had to use an agency. And when she heard this, she was livid, as she had to share the statistics with the CEO that week, who actually ended up yelling at her in front of all the directors. She tried to give me an official warning for sabotaging the team, but a talk with human resources cleared that away when they realized that it wasn't a part of my role. She then told me that I had to sign a new contract with an updated job description, which I absolutely declined on the spot. Eventually, she asked me what it would take to get me to continue running my projects, just like I previously used to do, and I mentioned the job title and salary increase, and she thankfully begrudgingly accepted. Now, I was seriously worried about her being hostile towards me, but then something crazy happened. COVID hit and this lady was made redundant. I stayed for a further 2 years before finally moving to a much better place at the start of this year, and as of today, my former manager's LinkedIn account continues to show that she's unemployed. And honestly, I can't think of a better person for that to happen to than my entitled manager who strung me along for 2 years. Yeah, your manager sounds like an absolute jerk. They made you believe that you were going to get some kind of raise or some kind of job title, but it was all literally a lie. She probably just did that to try and make you work harder, just so she could save some money on her end. And that is so unfair considering the fact that you went above and beyond just to get everything done with that company. I mean, you were saving them $45,000 a year. How could they not show some kind of gratitude towards your hard work? I mean, come on. Talk about being blind to the facts that are right in front of you. So with all that considered, and with the way your manager treated you, it really is satisfying to see that they are currently unemployed and they now have to deal with trying to find a new job. And with the way she acted, good luck trying to find any kind of reference. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out in the description below and subscribe.